Hello and welcome to ShadowCat Looming. This is Kat, and today we will be doing these little Easter egg holder stands. I've made this one here in green, and I've got some sticking out on the edge so it kind of looks like the green grass, so it looks like it's sitting in a little bed of green grass there. And then, if you take a closer look, in between the layers of the grass, I hope you guys can see it there, I've got some rolled up bands. These are actually glow-in-the-dark blue and white from Rainbow Loom. And if you get it bright enough, even with this grass covering it and the egg on top, it really will glow pretty well down there. And like on my eggs here, which I'll be having hopefully in time for Easter, another video coming out on how to do this egg, because this holder is going to be designed to fit my egg. Now, if you have bigger or smaller eggs, you can always adjust it and do accordingly for your egg. But mine's going to match, and mine has the glowing here. Then I've put in some glowing dots here, some glowing stripes here, some glowing dots here. It's actually easier to see on this one here. We can see the purple lines that I've got inserted and the little row of dots and the every other dot up there. So hopefully you guys enjoy. And I don't know the counts offhand. That will have to probably be put into the bottom, so be sure to check down there and see what the counts are for this project once I've counted it up there. It's a lot of green though. We will be using the board, and it'll be set up in 2 rows, left side and the right side. You can take out the center row, and I keep the center blue piece in here, the main one, because it keeps it really sturdy then. And yeah. If you need any supplies, you can come see us at our store, www.partyonsupplies.net. We do sell all the Rainbow Loom products and such there. So come see us if you need anything for this project. I am going to be using the neon green. So that is the green that I will need. Well, I guess you could actually do it in any green, but the light green goes really well with my pastel eggs, so that's why I chose the light green. I will also be I'll use the Rainbow Loom Hook to show you how the cross pieces are done, but I will switch to using the Latch hook. So for those of you that are interested in seeing how to use a latch hook out there, I will be using that today in this one. For those of you that only have a normal hook, you can still do the project. There will be no problems. It just might take a little bit longer because you can really go pretty fast with a latch hook. So, alright, well, let's begin. We'll start with some green bands here. We're just going to be putting 2 bands at a time on. We're just going to start at the very top and go all the way down on the left and on the right side. Just 2 bands on each set here. You'll also need 2 holding sticks, whatever you choose to use for that. Need to connect it to make it a little bit longer than just the one board's length here. other side here as well. Still 2 bands on each that I'm putting down. I'm just gathering up 2 at the same time, so you don't see me placing each one individually. Okay. Alright, so now you should have 2 rows of all green bands, 2 bands on each set. We'll continue now. We'll just take 1 single band at a time. We're just going to put 1 band over each of the pegs. We want to make sure as we go through and do the rest of the project that these bands do not fall off before we get a chance to weave them in there. Just 1 band over all the pegs. After that, this is when it's going to get a little bit trickier. We're going to be doing those cross-section pieces. We're going to need some more green bands. We're also going to need our center color pieces, which mine is going to be the glow white and the glow blue. And I'm going to start with the white, and I'm going to start with the rainbow loom hook here. I'll use the latch hook in a little bit. So for those of you that don't know how to use a latch hook, that'll be fun to see. I'm just going to take the band and put the band on the hook. Let me move the board actually so you can actually probably see it better. Put the band on the hook there. We're going to wrap it around 1, 2, and 3 times to make 4 loops on the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 loops. Then we're going to take a green band, 1 single green band. We're going to pull it out, and we're going to double it. Grab it on our hook, and we're going to slide that white band onto that green band there. And I find if I just pull it out and turn the hook facing down, I can slide it through that little bit of a triangle gap there. Then we'll take the bands and put them from our finger onto that top peg. And you can slide the middle bands, the white bands, over if you need. I have a little more room, and put it on the other side as well. I'll do that one more time here on the rainbow loom hook. So I'm going to use a blue band. So wrap it around 1, 2, and 3 to make 4 loops there. Grab a green, double it, twist the hook, pull the bands on, retwist the hook back, and place it from the finger onto the board, and place it onto the other side too. We want to make sure that when we're placing it on that these single little loose bands get placed underneath it, and that'll help to hold it on there. So now if anyone's interested in how to see a latch hook, you can watch here. Otherwise just keep doing that same thing all the way down, whether you're going back and forth between colors or whatever you're doing. It's the same as this basically, just this is a little quicker method. Going back to the white now. With the latch hook, it's got this, let me move that again. It's got this little latch here, and that's why it's called a latch hook. I'm going to open that latch, and when I put the band on, I'm going to put it on so that's on top of that latch, and my finger is going to press the band to the latch. And there's 1, 2, and 3. Each time I keep grabbing the band. So now I've got 4 bands on there. I'm going to slide it back past the latch. So there's the latch, and there's the bands. I'm going to take the green band. I'm going to double it now. Put in the hook. I'm going to close the latch. Now before, when I was having to move them manually or pull them down, all that, I don't need to do that. I can just take 2 fingers, thumb and middle finger here, and as long as you don't slow down right where this little latch opens, just go fast over that point. It slides really quickly and easily, just like that. It's already onto the bands. And you can transfer that onto the board. We're going to do that again now on the blue one. And double the band. Slide back past the latch. Sliding it forward closes the latch. Catch any runaway bands. Let's see, white's next. The other way to do this is basically the same idea. You still get the 4 loops of the white. You still double the green. But this time when doubling the green, you can put it right on the peg that you're trying to work with. Then I'll use a finger to make sure it stays held on that peg. I'll use a finger to hold the band there. Then I'll come in and I'll grab with the hook here. I'll just take my thumb and I'll slide the band down, which closes the latch and slides it right onto the hook. Slide the band over onto the band. Slide it over and place it. And that one I find to be a really quick method too. So make the 4 loops, get the band, double it, put it on, grab it, slide it. If you want something even quicker, if we count how many's left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left, and it's going to start with white. So I'll start with white, and I'll make the 4 loops, and I'll just push that back on my hook. I'll go to blue, and I'll make the 4 loops on my hook, and I'll push that back next to the white. I'll keep doing that until I've got all 7 of them on here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now that I have all 7 there on the hook, I can take a green band, double it, and put it on the peg here. I'll just take the next one in order, slide that one on down, place it, and move on to the next one. Just grab the green band, double it, slide it down from the line above them on my hook, and place it. And that I have found actually to be the fastest method when working with these. And again, make sure your bands are not falling off as you go. It's a little harder as you get to the end of the board here and you've got no place to grip. And last one. Alright. So, we have all of the boards set up, we'll need to add our cap bands at the bottom. I'm going to do 3 loops around, because I'm actually going to use that to connect it later. So there's 3 times around, and another single band over here, and 3 times around on that one as well. Alright, so grab your rainbow loom hook, and if you look from the side here, we're just going to go down through the center of the peg, and we're going to grab only those bottom 2 bands, and we're going to act like this little loose band is not even there. So go down through, grab those bottom 2 bands. Sometimes you'll need to hold those other bands down with a thumb so they don't get knocked off. And pull those bands to the next peg up. I'm going to pull all those bands back, reach down to the bottom 2, and pull those up to the next peg. We're just going to keep doing that all the way up the entire line. And when you do that too, just like this about happened, you want to make sure that those little loose bands are actually around the peg when you weave it, and not in the center like that one tried to jump the last second. So if there's any like that, you want to replace it over the peg, and then loop it up. Once you've done that row, we'll want to do the same thing with the other row here. So again, come down, grab the bottom 2 bands only. Make sure no bands are falling off, no single bands around the pegs are falling off as you go up. And just keep pulling back all those horizontals and that loose band. Grabbing only the bottom 2 bands. Alright. So once we are at the top, this is where we'll need our holding sticks. I use the ones, we sell these in the store, they're stir sticks. They've got the ball on one end and the point on the other end. And it's easy to go right down the center of that peg there, because you can see that it just fits perfectly. Bring it out on the side and loop it down. You want to make sure that you've got all of the bands there around that stick. I don't know if you can tell from the top view here. So I pull it out, but all the bands there. There's nothing in between that peg and that stick. You want to do the same on the other side. Then we'll take it off the board. I like to use crochet hooks here at this point when I take things off, and I'll use the non-hook end because that goes perfectly right down the center of the peg here. And just bend it right back. Take it out. Especially when you're using double bands, or as I note them when I draw them, 1B2X. They're really tight in there, and this does help a lot to be able to get it off of the peg and not break it, if you're worried about any breakages there. Working that all the way down. When I get to the end, I usually use the sticks to gently lift the bands off of the peg there. I'll put the board aside for a second. Now here, you'll see that it naturally curves one direction when you get it off. And in that center, that one way where it's already curving, you're going to start to see some of those loose bands sticking through, and then some on the edge there. What we want to do is go through, hopefully you guys can see this here, and I'm just going to pull all of those loose bands at every section down and pull it in through the center there. Some of them you gotta hunt for, some of them will be pretty easy to see. And you'll see as I pull it that it pulls it from the outer edge, and there's none left over there. So that's how you make sure that you've got them all too. And you're just gonna pull those into the center there, and do the same thing with the other side. It might be easier for some of you to use a hook at this point too, if you can't quite find all the bands that you're trying to pull. Or you just kind of start pulling and whatever moves is the right band. Alright, so now we have one section done. We're going to need to pretty much repeat this similar process here. We're going to connect this onto this before we weave up. So put that first piece off to the side there. Okay, so now when we build the second section of the board, it really matters what size your egg is. If you have a small egg, you'll want to see how big this circle is right now for your egg. I'd still recommend at least a little bit bigger, even for most of the small eggs out there. I've seen some of those designs. This egg, if you're designing it for my egg, is a little bit bigger than most of the small eggs. If you're looking for an egg size about this big, then you'll want to follow the pattern as I'm going to show it here, because this is going to fit my egg perfectly. After you build that, I guess you can really play around with and see what other sizes you need it at. But for this second portion, we're going to count what would be 4 sets of bands going down. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hold my finger there, and I'm going to start on the peg set right below that. So here's where 4 was, here's where I'm starting. Then I'm going to go down just like we did before with 2 bands on each, all the way down. We want to go to the bottom of the board because that's going to be the easiest to connect our other piece. So that's why we're not starting at the top, for those of you that are wondering. Alright, plus 2 bands all the way down on the left side. And do the same on the right, 2 bands all the way down. Don't forget to add your single bands. 1 single band to each peg here. Now we'll do our cross bands. If you take a look at your design, for this one we have the white and blue pattern going, and we ended on white. And actually, take off those bottom two. So we had put in one on each one. We're going to take the band off of the bottom two pegs. Leave those blank. Because the band from here is actually going to end up on there. So we stopped with the white. That's going to end up going across here. So then we'll do blue, white, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white. So I'll need to start with white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of them. So I'll start with white, and I'll do 8, right? Is that going to work? Yeah. Maybe I'll start with blue. Yeah, because I'm going to line it up on the hook like I did before. So since it's working in the reverse direction, we want to start with the blue on the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Slide that down the hook, go to the white. 4 loops, slide that down the hook, go back to the blue. 4 loops. Again, I'm just making cat bands and sliding them down my hook here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7. And there's 8. Alright. So that should be for the whole section here. I'm going to move that. I'm going to take a single green band as we'd been, double it. It doesn't. Oh, yes it does. Oops. Go back here. Okay, so now we are ready to connect our first piece. And the other reason why I like these stair sticks is with the points, as I said before, that's the way I was going to put them in because the balls are on the other end. That is the way that I know that they need to face to connect properly. And we've got these sprouts coming out one side now. I've got a flat other side. So that'll make that connection pretty easy here. We're going to connect it in this fashion. If you have a curl to it, it's going to curl kind of up, I guess. When you connect it, you want to make sure that you get all of your bands here onto that peg. If you don't, things will come apart a bit. We've got the 2 bands. Then we've got the horizontal doubled band right there, so making 2 bands. Then we've got the single loose band. And then we've got 2 bands again, which is the same as the first 2 on this side. So we want to make sure that all of those get onto this peg. There's different methods for moving them over. I'm trying to find where... Oh, there's my hook. My hook went. I would recommend pulling them near to the end of the sticks. Well, the one that you're working on. And if you want, you can just grab the 2 bands at a time that you need, 1 or 2 even. You need 1 if you can only get 1 at a time. And move them on each individually. And make sure they're all on. Now, to make sure that they're all on, I'll usually pull back a bit on the holding stick. If you have plastic like me, careful that you don't pull back too much to break it. But if you pull back and you see that all of the bands are properly pulling back and there's nothing in between the peg and the band, then you've got all of the bands on the peg and you can take out your holding stick. Sometimes when I take them out, I'll either connect the other side, or if you feel like there's a lot of bands and you're kind of scared of them falling off, while this one's still safe here, you can go down. You want to pull back if you can on this bottom piece, and that'll make it a little easier. Take your hook and go down, pulling all those bands back. Grab those bottom 2 bands like we were doing before, and leave that up to the next peg. And just doing that a little bit will help it to stay on a little bit better. If some of your bands start to come back out, that's fine too. You can just fix that up at the end with the touch-ups. So now, we want to get this other side here. And that was one way I showed you that you can move them all over. The other way, you can actually just kind of pull from the base of the bands with one hand here, clamped really tight, and then pull out with the hook. And when you do that, it kind of opens up this little gap here. And if you can use that gap and separate it by the edge of this peg, because it's kind of got that little split there, you can pull all those bands onto that peg at the same time. But you got to make sure that you actually are getting all of those bands. And again, once you've done that, you can pull your peg out and make sure that you can see all of the bands pulling out there and that nothing is in between the bands and the peg. And take out your stick and pull back once more. Grab the bottom 2 bands. And if something like that's happened, you want to make sure that your band is on that next peg before pulling it up there. And then same as we did before, standard weaving rules. Pull everything back, grab those bottom 2 bands, and weave up. Also to note, to make sure that you are doing this correct, as you weave up, your little weaves will turn into teardrops. And teardrops are a good sign that it's done correctly. Just like when you get done, you're going to want to make sure that everything looks like teardrops here, and that nothing looks like the original looping that we put down, because then that means everything has been woven together. Now at this point, you have a couple options on how you want to end it. You could put a clip on all of those bands, and then in a minute we're going to take it mostly off the board. You could then clip from that cap band on the end here up here. I don't necessarily like to use clips if I can help it, so where possible I find other methods. On this one in particular, since we've got all of the little fluff off on the side here, this just helps to add to it, which I think is kind of cool. I'm going to do several slip knots. I'm going to go through all of the bands at the top of where the bands start on that peg. Stick my hook out on the side. Pull the band through, careful not to catch any other bands. And put them both on the hook, take the back band, pull it up and over the front band. I'm going to pull that out. That's going to be my first slip knot band to hold all those together. Gonna do the same on the other side. Make sure you're going through all the bands because that'll keep them together. Pull that one tight. Alright, so those right now are together. But we're going to be adding some more in a minute too. So now I'm going to take my crochet hook. I'm going to take the design off the board, but not all the way off the board yet. So now that I'm up to the top two pegs, where everything comes together, I'm going to grab the bottom, and I'm going to find those cap bands that we started with. I'm going to take the crochet hook, and we want to connect it so that it's going to wrap around and make a circle. So we're going to connect it in this fashion, which means we want to come from the back side, going forward toward the end, to go through the 3 bands there to grab our cap. And we want to make sure that we're going to cap it to the proper side. So you want to follow the line all the way around and make sure you don't have any twists and you're not to the other side or anything. And you want to put that cap band on top of that peg there too. After you've done that, take another green band, go in with your hook through all of those bands, and make another slip knot, pulling all of those together. Pull it tight, but not too tight that it overstretches it and breaks it or anything. We're going to do the same thing with the other side now. So we're going to find our cap band. That's our 3 bands right there. We're going to go with the crochet hook the direction of the end. And we're going to bring that over to the other side here. Put that cap on the other peg. Then we're going to go through the peg again, out the bottom, grab our band, go back through, grab your back band, make your slip knot, pull that one off to the side too. Now, it's up to you if you want, if you think you need another slip knot at that point to make it a little tighter together, or if you think that's enough. We're going to tuck these in and they're going to turn into just the center portion, and it's going to be pretty cool here. So, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to finish taking it the rest of the way off the board. Now we'll want to do the same thing we did before, where any bands that have slipped back through, pull them back through again. Finish pulling the new bands through. If you have the same thing going on that I do, you seem to have this one band on each side sticking out and not woven in. We don't need that band. You can go ahead and break it. Or if it don't break, use your teeth. Make sure it's the loose band and the weird one first before you just break any bands, and it's not your slip knot band, because that's around there too. Alright. Now, once we've gotten that all tidied up, we're going to tuck in our slip knot bands. To do this, I'm going to see if you can see it any better. Let's see if my zoom function works. It's a new camera, so I'm still learning how to work with it here. Alright. So I'm going to go in through part of that top edge layer here, the direction of one of these slip knots. I'm going to go with the crochet hook because it's got less of a hook here, and I don't want to get caught on those edge knots or edge bands. I just want to slide through very gently there. Pull that through. Then if you want, you can always go through another layer there. I'm going through that center horizontal band right there, and I'm going to pull it through there just for a little more security, because mine seemed a little loose there. So now that band sticks out in the center with everything else. That one does. These guys are still sticking out at the top though. This one's kind of already toward the center, so I'm going to work on him next. Go through that horizontal band in the center. That's one of the last bands to go through. Alright. And then these still sticking out on the edge here. I'm going to go through an edge band first. I'm going to pull them both through the same one, actually. And we'll see how that looks. And I kind of like it right there. I don't think I need to go through a center one any more than that. Alright, and with that you have your cute little egg holder. Or whatever other creation that you have out there that's 3D and needs a little bit of a stand. You can always change the colors around the outer edge here, and you'll have stands for some of your other characters. And you can make them different sizes to fit the different character. Oh, let me zoom back out there now. Alright. So, thanks for coming and seeing me today and doing the design today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it makes a nice little touch for your eggs and they enjoy their little grass beds there. And check out more of my stuff in the future. Hit that subscribe button and share to anybody that you think would enjoy. And have a great day, guys. Don't forget to like. See you guys next time. Bye.